Following our best season yet, we had made it to the playoffs for the first time in Season 4. With the first round bye in the divisional round, we met the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was a pretty defensive game. And it was a game where we saw Romeo Doubs really shine and thought he scored the go-ahead winner. Unfortunately, that would not be the case as we would fall out in our first round, 20-17. And Season 4 would officially end with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing in the Super Bowl 38-22 to the Steelers. They get their 7th Super Bowl championship behind Joe Burrow, the Super Bowl MVP. You can see the yearly awards over on the right-hand side. We did have 2 award winners this year, with Rachaad White winning Best Running Back and Matt Gay winning Best Kicker. We also had a fair few amount of Pro Bowlers this year, including 2 of our 3 starting receivers in Nacua and Ayuk. Jordan Love was also a Pro Bowler, as well as, I want to say, Blackman, the safety, was now, again, 2-timer, back-to-back seasons. So all in all, Season 4 was good, but that leaves us with one last season that we have to win the Super Bowl in. And as we kick off the off-season portion, we did have a retiree in Garrett Bowles. So we lose one of our best offensive linemen moving forward, and that's definitely a spot that was on the weaker side, but hopefully we still have some other options to improve that group. But before we can try to bring other guys in, we need to really secure guys that we already have. Jeremy Dennard, he has his 5th year option available. I'm not going to accept it because we won't be using him for a 5th year. He's still going to be on the roster next year, and that's about as long as we could go. A guy we do need to bring in is Braxton Jones. We cannot lose out on any of these offensive linemen. He doesn't have a whole lot of interest, so we're gonna have to boost up these numbers a little bit, and hopefully he will end up taking this offer, $15.5 million per season for 2 years. Obviously, we won't be using all that, but he likes it, so he does stay. Now, Nacua surprisingly doesn't have a whole lot of interest in coming back. We don't have a great career win percentage. The scheme fit doesn't quite line up, even though I feel like we run one probably similar to what he would want. And we don't really have that franchise quarterback, despite us having the best possible quarterback that we can. So we're definitely going to have to offer a good bit here. He's coming off a Pro Bowl season. So let's bump this up. Let's just give him 14 mil. Why not? It's a lot to pay, but it's just 1 more year, and he will return. Next up on the list is Taron Johnson. He's been one who's kind of been hit or miss on if he's wanted to come back the last, I think, couple seasons. We're going to give him a 1-year deal, 8 mil here. Hopefully he likes it, and he really does. I do want to also try to bring back Terrell Burgess. He's been a just all-around player for us. We're not going to give him as much money because he's not a starter. He just rotates in. And that ends up working out good for both parties. Now, Zach Moss did see a good bit of his carries diminish last year with Rachaad White having such a good year. Still want to keep him around though, but he's going to test. And in the same step at trying to keep this offensive line together as much as possible, Christensen does need to have an offer offered. We're going to make it 4 mil for 1 season, and he loves it. Now, here's the players we're not bringing back in the re-signing period. Cody Barton has been a starter for us. There is someone I might end up trying to trade for. We will see. So Barton might still end up coming back in open free agency, similar to Zach Moss, who wanted to test. DJ Davidson hasn't really been in the starting spot. He's a pretty decent overall compared to the rest of the defensive line, so he may end up returning. John really has never gotten to play. Galay? I still never learned how to say his last name. He might end up returning as a depth. Chris Tonga, he's regressing a good bit more down to a 69. So we'll see really for all of the defense, see kind of how their overalls end up fitting with all possible options. Matt Gay and Wisnowski, we did not re-sign right now, but probably will in open free agency. So let's see what open free agency holds for us. And overall, I would say that the open free agency was rather lackluster. Nothing crazy happened. We didn't bring back Matt Gay, our Pro Bowl kicker. We brought in our new punter in Bajorquez? I honestly have no idea how to pronounce the name, if I'm being completely honest. We brought in Corey at punter, brought back Zach Moss. Cody Barton did return, same as DJ Davidson. We did bring in a new backup offensive lineman in Richard Jenkins. He's a 70 overall, would be a good fill, and did bring back July. again, not quite sure. I did offer one other player, though, who just did not choose to come here, and that was at right outside linebacker in Jelani Tavai. He's more of an inside linebacker. He was higher of an overall than Barton. Tried to offer, but he just didn't want to come here, so he ended up going to the Steelers. But that is really all there is to say for free agency. Now, as for the draft, really not much for us to do here either. There is an interesting quarterback in Damian Applewhite out of Hawaii. He would strictly be a backup quarterback, listed as a round 2 to 3 projection, 6'1", 224. He's a right-hander. He's not extremely fast, but does have some mobility with only solid throw power. The short and medium accuracy are solid. The deep, kind of lackluster. I don't feel like we need a backup quarterback. We have a guy there, but there's really just not a whole lot in this draft class. One of the potential draftable players here in Tyler Amaya, potentially out of BYU, day 3 project, actually potential undrafted. Now he does have C power moves and block shed, which not awful. And then the only other guy, an outside linebacker, actually I think there are 2 other guys, but one of the other guys, another day 3, also is a potential undrafted as a speed rusher, Trey Woods out of UNLV. Don't feel like we've really drafted anyone out of there. He does have B finesse moves and C block shed, so if these guys are available after the draft, we could definitely pick them up. And then Aries good, not that good. So this draft really has nothing for us. So instead of making any drafts, as we have an odd amount of picks here, we have a first rounder, a third, a fourth, then a 6 and 7. So we are missing our 2nd and our 5th. We could use all of these picks that we have showing here to try to make trades to bring in as high of talent as possible. So that is the plan. There will be no draft for us, or at least no traditional draft, as we will be kind of trying at least to draft other teams' players. So when it comes to positions and where we think we need to see some improvement, quarterback and running back, we are good at. Receiver, really good at. Tight end, another good spot. We could use some help for the offensive line. Blaylock at a 70 overall is in line to potentially be a starter at left tackle, which I hopefully will not have to do. We obviously traded for Braxton Jones last season. Gavin Richter is up to an 80. We do have Don Hendricks, who is a 72, so could slot in at spots if need be. We also have Brady Christensen, a 77 that we just re-signed, and then Braden Daniels, a 76. And then at right tackle, we have Blake Freeland. If we could find any more offensive linemen in the 80s overall, that would be fantastic. Defensive line, I've looked, and there's really just nothing there for us to try to trade for. So we have to rely on Leaky Fotu, Malik Spiller down the middle. Those two have done pretty solid. On the outside, Damian Weeks hasn't really flashed all too much, but he's made some plays here and there. We do obviously have Adrian Sharp, had a pretty good season last year, and Diabate just really hasn't done a whole lot either. So we have to rely on guys to really have their best seasons. Now at middle linebacker, I don't think we really need a whole lot of help. Devin Lloyd up in 88, but there is a player who I would honestly really like to bring in. Not sure what all it would take, but Fred Warner is a 30-year-old, 99 overall, seeing with a +1 morale boost, superstar X Factor. I mean, his ratings are almost as good as you could really ever get from any of the linebackers, and I would love to try to bring him in. So what all do we need to offer? As the Giants are saying, no offer is possible. Well, I don't think that's true. What do you think about a first round this year, first round next year, and first round the year after? 3 first-round picks for Fred Warner doesn't get the job done. It's at least close. So we'll end up tacking on this year's 3rd as well. And that brings in Fred Warner. Obviously, not realistic, but we just needed to bring in a guy from an available school, and that leaves us Fred Warner and Devin Lloyd right down the middle. That should be a really, really good tandem. Combined with those two, we have block shedding 77, 83, so should do better in stopping the run. Coverage ratings are also looking really good. Fred Warner can actually run some man coverage, so tight ends shouldn't be much of a problem either. So that leaves us with needing to find an offensive lineman. And by just taking a quick look here, it does look like Bitonio did end up retiring, which limits our last option here to Austin Corbett, a guy we've tried to trade for several times and they just haven't been interested. He does have some pretty good pass blocking rating, so he could fit in at that open tackle spot. Let's just see what the Jaguars are looking for. Again, they say no trade options. Well, let's see what we can do. How about a second this year, a second next year? We'll give you the third next year, as well as the fourth the season after. That's a whole lot of picks, and we do bring in Austin Corbett. Now let's meet the final starting day lineup, as this offense is full of mostly star dev players. I feel like we had some guys who did lose superstars, like Ayuk I feel like was a superstar. I don't know about Rachaad White or not. I don't think Love was, but I feel like Kincaid was, and he regressed. So we don't have any superstars or higher on this offense, but for the most part, everything's running back the same as it was last year. Outside of Corbett did move to left tackle. So the starting offensive line is an 82, 84, 79, 76, and a 77. Kincaid is close to being a 90 overall tight end, and Romeo Doubs is getting the start at wide receiver 2, just barely moving over Nacua because he has better release. So Nacua's still going to be out there a lot as that third receiver. Zach Moss might get a little bit of some carries. We'll kind of see how the offense runs this season, but for the most part, offense runs it back. They were really good last year. Defense, again, also a group that's pretty much running it back. For the base package, at least for the defensive line, same starters, Weeks, Fotu, and Spiller, though the primary backups are going to kind of shift around, and we're going to get Spiller to run at DT if Fotu ever has to leave the field, and then we'll just see some of the other young defensive linemen we haven't had an opportunity to see. Middle linebackers are going to be Devin Lloyd and Fred Warner. We obviously have really capable backups in Cody Barton and the second year, I want to say, linebacker in Johnson, who I think also regressed as well down to a star. Sharp, still going to be the starter on the edge. We also have Sewell and Daniels going to be the backup for both sides, as Diabate still starting. Hopefully he has a really good season. Still have Marcus Williams at free safety and Julian Blackman at strong safety. Corners stay the same in Johnson and Johnson and Dennard. Maybe Phillips will see some playing time this year, but who quite knows. As for the specialist, we are probably going to see maybe a rotation for the rush DTs, as Fotu is getting the start because he has a little ability to rush the passer, but primary to be a run stopper out there for us whenever we do spread wide. Spiller, also a pretty decent run stopper, a pretty well balanced guy. Weeks still starting on one side, Sharp on the other. Not much has changed here. As mentioned, Nacua still the starting slot receiver. This Fred Warner hopefully is going to come in and elevate this defense. But as we watched so much of last episode of the fourth season, the first half and not much of the second half, let's try to flip the script here for this one and see how the team does as we get through the first quarter and the first half of this year. And not gonna lie, week 1 had us a little worried as we would lose by 9 to the Browns, but then we would rattle off 3 straight wins, including 2 of which were at least a 2-score game. There was a close one against the Carolina Panthers, but really what happened in this Browns game? It was just well balanced. I mean, throughout, just they scored a little bit more consistently than we did. Only 381 yards for them, 338 for us. Turnovers, we both had some, though they had the better, at least, ratio. 2 touchdowns, no interception. He completed 80% of his passes, so that definitely wasn't very good. Jordan Love, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He completed 77%. So both quarterbacks were having a pretty good game outside that 1 interception. And we gave up 3 rushing touchdowns to Justin Brackett, a second-year running back. 83 yards, 21 carries, but 3 touchdowns. As for us, Rachaad White, not a great game. Only 2.5 yards per rush. Did have 1 touchdown. And there was a fumble by Deshaun Albert. But we didn't have a fumble, but we had 2 turnovers. So not quite sure where that other one is coming from. Zach Moss, 4.5 yards per carry, but just 2 carries. As for receiving, Brandon Ayuk over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. They had Josh Downs have a pretty good game as well, 74 yards on just 4 catches for another 2 touchdowns. Nacua, pretty solid there. 3 catches, 22 yards each catch. Romeo Doubs, fine, but I mean, nothing quite flashy from any of these guys down the line. As for the defense, Devin Lloyd led us and both sides in tackles with 11. As for us individually, only 2 tackles for a loss, Fotu and Spiller both with 1. Sack-wise, 0. Interceptions, obviously, we didn't have any. And Matt Gay was 1 of 1 on his field goals, 3 of 3 on his extra points. So for the most part, solid. Just seems like we were struggling to stop passes. But in the Vikings game, we won 24-7. Did we rebound? Yeah, we did. Only 162 yards given up. Meanwhile, we were over 350 ourselves. Did not have any turnovers. Jordan Love, 1 touchdown, 227 yards, 83% completion. Solid field general work. And Jared Goff, an awful game. Only 90 yards, did throw at least 1 touchdown, but completed 43% of his passes. As for rushing, a better day here for Rachaad White, 3.8 yards running, though Jahmyr Gibbs did pretty good against us, near 6 yards per rush. We did have 2 rushing touchdowns from Kenny Whitfield in this game, and he really became the primary backup in this one because Zach Moss on one of these carries, assumingly, he did get injured out for 4 weeks. We have brought in Jamal Williams to fill out his spot until he returns. As for the receiving game in this one, Romeo Doubs, 4 catches, 65 yards. The only one to get a touchdown was, for us, Cole Turner, the 3rd string tight end, and Noah Fant, probably, I would assume, their number 1 tight end. Defensively, though, it was all their guys who were the leading tacklers. Fred Warner was down here at 5, was our leading tackler. As for tackles for a loss, none. We did have sacks in this one, though. 1.5 for Spiller, 1 for Diabate, and half for Lloyd. Interceptions, none. And then kicking, again, 1 for 1 and 3 of 3. The Panthers game was a close one, though. We won by a field goal, potentially scored in the second quarter. That was the only field goal we had made. And it was a very close game on paper. 373 versus 372 for total offensive yards. Jordan Love, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, completed 71%. And Mac Jones, 2 touchdowns on 254 yards, though only completed 53% of his throws. So after that first game, it looks like we're breaking up a whole lot more passes, which is good to see. Rachaad White still looking for that dominant rushing game. And James Cook, pretty solid rushing day for him. And did we see... No, we did not see any runs for Jamal Williams in this one. But we did see Joshua Palmer have a pretty good game. 104 on 7 catches, though it was Nakua on 3 catches with 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs, I mean, all right, nothing splashy. Darrell Mooney, near exact score sheet there, but did at least score. And there were a couple more scores down the line. Romeo Doubs on 4 catches for 36 yards, did get 1 in the end zone. And Najee McFadden, his only catch was a 24-yard score. And we had a 2-way tie for tackle leaders, 10 going to Arrington and 10 going to Devin Lloyd. As for us individually, any more tackles for a loss? Yes, finally a game with a few bit more. 2 for Malik Spiller, then 1 for Adrian Sharp, Weeks, Fotu, and Julian Blackman. Any sacks? No. So we're getting one or the other. And another 1 of 1 and 3 of 3 for Matt Gay. And then in week 4, it was back to a 2-score game, 17-7, putting up majority of our points in that fourth quarter. Most of all the points were scored in that fourth quarter. We only had 250 offensive yards, nearly gave up 300, 185 and 1 touchdown for Jordan Love, 60% completion. Meanwhile, Blake Church, a 4th-year quarterback who has won some award at some point, 183, 1 touchdown, 59% completion. So again, very similar stat lines there. As Bijan Robinson goes for nearly 5 yards a rush, but Rachaad White finally at that 4-yard plus, as Kenny Whitfield, being the primary backup, did get a touchdown on just 3 carries. But no one really shined in the receiving game. And Marvin Mims, you would say, probably be the best. He averaged at least a first down a catch. Dalton Kincaid was our main guy, which typically doesn't happen all too often. Brandon Ayuk did at least get the touchdown. As for defense, it was both of our guys being the leading tacklers in this game. 7 for Lloyd as well as Sharp. Just us We had 4 more tackles for a loss, one by Sharp, Dennard, Fotu, and Diabate. But finally, we also got a little bit of some sacks in there. 1.5 for Adrian Sharp. He finally gets his first sack of the season, splitting one of them with Taron Johnson, who is no longer one of the primary starters at corner. He is now splitting that time with Dennard, who is now all-time starter, whether it's just 2 or 3 cornerbacks out there. But that leaves us with 3 games remaining to about the halfway point. One against the Ravens, our first divisional match against the 49ers, and then one against the Bears. As for the second half of the season, you're going to see a whole lot more in terms of divisional play. The Rams, I don't think we face, no, they're all late till week 14 and 16. And currently, as we sit at the week 5 game, we are both 3-1 on the season. So the NFC West is still very close. The 49ers and Seahawks are both 2-2. So let's get through these next 3 games and see where our season lies at the midway point. And we would see our 5-game win streak snapped after the bye in a 21-28 loss to the Bears. But that was after 2 really big wins against the Ravens, 31-14, and against the 49ers, 35-7. Now, in this Ravens game, I'm assuming we saw a really good game from Weeks, because after he had the opportunity to get a dev boost the next week, which we'll talk about when we talk about that game. But over 450 yards for the offense in this one. Meanwhile, we barely gave up over 200 for the defense. So that, fantastic. Jordan Love, 267, 3 touchdowns, 80% completion. Meanwhile, Sam Howell, just 119 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 57% completion. As for Rachaad White, his best game so far this year, over 100 yards, 7.3 yards per rush, 1 touchdown. Najee Harris still ran pretty well. He's pretty effective, but so was Kenny Whitfield when he had the opportunity. So that's really good to see. Puka Nacua, 110 yards, 3 touchdowns in this one. Brandon Ayuk, 5 for 55, and Romeo Doubs only had 48 yards, and he was feeling a little down on himself, and he really wanted a 100-yard game next week, so we'll see if he did. As for George Kittle, he did have 2 touchdowns on 4 grabs, so we're still missing out a little bit in covering some of the better of the tight ends, but the other guys we've seen us actually do pretty well. It was Kari Adams who led both teams in tackles with 10, and it was Julian Blackmon who had our best at 5. We did see some tackles for loss in this one, 2 for Weeks, which was good enough to get him to that possible development boost. Adrian Sharp also had 2. Julian Blackmon with 1, as well as both the Dennards, Jeremy and Heath. As for the sacks, 1 went to Leaky Fotu, interception went to Julian Blackmon. As for kicking, not 1 of 1 and 3 and 3, 1 of 1 and 4 of 4 on the extra points. And there were 2 big things that could have happened in this next game, and luckily for us, they did. Against the 49ers, where we won 35-7, including 21 points scored in the 4th quarter, just giving up 201 yards while getting 332 ourselves. We saw Romeo Doubs get over 100 yards, meeting that goal. So he got some XP and a boost, really. He was able to upgrade. 103, 1 touchdown. Puka Nacua also, 2nd game in a row over 100. But it was Brandon Ayuk had most of the touchdowns too, as we gave up 1 to Tyree Alexander and no one else. As for defense, Weeks had the opportunity to get his dev boost. And as we go over to our stat line here, any tackles for a loss? Johnson, Lloyd, Fotu, Dennard, Spiller, and Burns. How about sacks? Burns had 1 and Diabate had 1. So Weeks got lucky in the fact that I believe we gave up less than 100 rushing yards, 65. So due to the rest of the defense, we did get one of our defensive linemen up to a star dev. Unfortunately, though, the team partied too hard in the bye week and then came a little bit sluggish out of it as we would lose our 2nd game this season, 28-21 against the Chicago Bears. Stat line pretty close. They had 30 more yards than we did. Josh Allen just had a good game. 90% completion, unreal, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Love, 231, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 80% completion. It's not bad. Although he's throwing quite a few interceptions, I feel like, already this season. Rushing yards, Hall, really good. Rachaad White, good. Though Whitfield keeps stealing the touchdowns, I feel like, from White. As for receiving, Jalen Spidell, great game, 126 yards. Brandon Ayuk with another touchdown on 87 yards. For some reason, Niles Terrell was out there. He had 5 catches, 50 yards. Fine by me, I guess. DJ Chark under 50 yards, but 4 catches and a touchdown. Romeo Doubs had a touchdown. We gave up a touchdown to a tight end, Nazir Gardner, 3 catches for 23. As for the defense, Jack Campbell led both teams in tackles with 11. We had Julian Blackman with 7. As for the rest of our guys, tackles for a loss, 2 for Sharp and Weeks. So he got the numbers in the following game. Julian Blackman 1, as well as Diabate and Spiller. As for sacks, Spiller had 1, Diabate with half, split with Dennard. So for some reason, we're seeing Dennard out there a lot more of late. Didn't see any injuries crop up, so might need to check some depth charts. But we're seeing Diabate get a little bit more involved more regularly, which is great to see. As for kicking, Matt Gay did not have any field goals, but he was 3 of 3 on extra points. So if he hit 3 field goals, he could have won this one. But I do think it's time we jump into a little bit of some action. We are 5-2. Same as the Seattle Seahawks as we meet for the first time in week 9. Now, our division schedule really is not very good. We play the Seahawks 2 games in 3, and we also do the same with the Rams. So I'm assuming 49ers, as we did play them once earlier, is the only one that they actually spread out. So weird schedule. But because we are so tight here, we're definitely going to watch at least the second half-ish of this game. I'm going to jump to the quarter sims, see how it goes, and then depending on what happens week 10, if we win in both these weeks, we'll skip the week 11 game. But if it's like a win and a loss or a loss and a win, then both of these games really matter, and we'll tune in for both. So let's jump to the first game here of Season 5, hoping, fingers crossed, knocked on wood for that dub. And game 1 will be at home as we get the first battle between the Seahawks started, and they hold the lead 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, though I think we were driving, and we do tack on the touchdown, though give up a touchdown, go back down, get another touchdown, give up a field goal, and that will be the score at half. 14-13. Neither one of these teams pulling away. So let's get through the third quarter here as we go back and forth. Still nothing happens. Score holds as the fourth quarter hits. Let's slow it down a little bit as we get the ball starting back in our own territory deep at the 15. Or apparently switch that. They're getting the ball back at their 15. So defense, let's hold them here. 3rd and 3. We give up 6 to Timmy Borden. Still backed up deep, all fine, thrown away by Trevor Lawrence. Then picking up 3, Algier. 3rd and 7, they get 8. Timmy Borden. That's back-to-back third down conversions for him as Algier picks up 8. Then 4 going, you guessed it, Timmy Borden. As they hit midfield, 13, Timmy Borden. I'm getting tired of saying his name. Rashard Lawrence picks up, did I say Rashard Lawrence? That's not even close. Either way, they have first downs and they're inside the red zone. The defense get the big plays here. They have an X-Factor tight end at the top. Lawrence obviously going to be an X-Factor. Trevor Lawrence, not Rashad Lawrence, whatever I said. Algier will pick up 4, and he's had a fairly decent game today. 18 rushes, 67 yards. Nothing extremely splashy, but consistent. As they spread empty, 2 up top, the rest down to the bottom. As they will go all the way up top, it's wide open for Algier. A first down inside the 5. If I'm not mistaken, he's one of the running backs who could be with us. I want to say played at BYU. As I go down the middle to him, trying to bounce up top, not picking up the first down. You might notice a new number 0 on this team as Spiller and Algier get into it a little bit. Sharp is wearing 0 this year, as we did give Fred Warner his 54. It's a goal line set, throw, and to this X-Factor tight end, I believe it's Isaiah Likely, who gives them the lead. But the lead is not good enough for them. They want the 2-point here, make it a touchdown game. As they hand this one off, Algier with a lead blocker, leads the way into the end zone. Haven't seen much of a better run than that, as it is a touchdown game. Under 3.5 minutes left. But can Love and this really high-powered receiving group lead us down the field quickly to level this one up? We start spread to either side. Love from the pocket, goes across the middle. Ayuk with the first down, and not a whole lot more, about a gain of 12, maybe 13. We could use all of the time remaining here and then take it into OT. That is always an option. We did really well, I want to say last year in the OT games, as that one's knocked away, intended for Ayuk once again. He's only had 5 catches, 51 yards. I'd like to see about another 60, 70 yards and a touchdown. As we go up top, it is Ayuk nearly getting away. Secure tackle at the end stops us in midfield. But seemingly going in the direction of Ayuk in this one, at least late. As we have 1st and 10 at the 49. Swinging it up top, it's Kincaid picking up that one to get it to exactly midfield. And from there, we'll come out with a heavier set. 2 tight ends to the top, 2 receivers down to the bottom as we motion out Rachaad White. We like to go that direction late on last season. Though we look the opposite way and it's off in Nakua's hands. Not often he drops it, but heard the footsteps on that one. Leaves 3rd and 9 with 2 down to the bottom, 1 up top. Love going deep downfield, and it's a decent throw. But out of bounds lands Ayuk. And that leaves us really needing the 1st down here. 2:08 on the clock. They're not really setting anyone deep downfield. The corner is about just as deep as the safeties. As they send a blitz, we get it out to Nakua, who has a good block, sprinting down inside the 25 and out at the 23. He may have dropped that previous pass, but makes the big play for us when we desperately needed it. 2:02, we'll have one more play before the 2-minute warning. Then we have 3 timeouts. As we go, Ayuk breaks 1 tackle, skims by another, and picks up that 1st down as we quickly get back to the line following the 2-minute warning. Again, all 3 timeouts remain. We're down a touchdown, need that to at least tie. As we will throw from the tight set. Drag route once again, this time Nakua down to the 5. For the most part, just taking the simple throws on this drive when we found guys open. So it's 2nd and 3. We will hand this one off for Rachaad White. Tries to cut back towards the top, but does not shake the linebacker. Or actually might have been safety. No, not the safety. I don't know who that guy was that got the tackle, but it was a good one. Leaving 3rd and 2. Will be a throw. Love throws it to the wrong team. Tremaine Edmonds gets the pick at the 8 with 1:06 left. We have 3 timeouts. Defense has to hold. It was not long ago we were celebrating those kind of plays by Tremaine Edmonds with the Virginia's States Only Challenge, but not that time as Algier, who's been so consistent today, picks up 4 on 1st down. 1st timeout called. If they get 1 1st down, that is it. They give him some lead blocks, and it's from the behind. From the behind, that's just weird. It's a tackle from behind. As we call that 2nd to last timeout, it was a loss of 4. Cut back towards the bottom. There's Fred Warner with the quick stop. We're getting the ball back under a minute left to try to level this game and actually send it to OT. The punt is off. We're getting it at the 40. Not much of a return as the offense heads out, hopefully not for the last time. And due to clock management being very high here as we have no timeouts remaining, I am jumping out here to make sure we don't do anything silly. But might still throw an interception or 2 because that's what we do. As that pass definitely thrown too late, past the line. Not good. Though in terms of clock management, losing no yards and stopping the clock, I think that actually works out just fine for me. We got a 1-on-1 Ayuk, look for the back shoulder. We get it and smacked out of bounds as well. Thank you, corner, for that tackle. And of course, thank Jordan Love for that throw on the money as we're down to the 26, or just outside the 26. Kincaid potentially could find his way in between some corners here or get rid of it. Pass rush in our face as Austin Corbett injured on the play. Well, that's going to bring in one of our around 70 overall offensive linemen over at left tackle, so keep an eye on that side. Let's even shift the line that way as well. We have Rachaad White who could help out a little bit on the right. Everyone pretty much covered here. On the comeback, no, they're going to say it's a fumble recovered by that offensive lineman. And because of that hit, we lose the game. No way we could have stopped the clock. And unfortunately, it is a loss against the Seahawks, solidifying their spot at the top. And because of this loss, it doesn't quite matter what happens in this next game. So let's quickly jump over to the Seahawks game the very next week after and see if we could get some revenge. And coming off of a game where both of our teams both won. We need this win, though the Seahawks are up top 7-0 after the first quarter. Once again, we're going to get through these quarters here. See if we can grab a lead or extend it. The Seahawks do. Our offense is not moving. We give up some more points before half, so we're going to need to slow things down in this second half as we are down multiple scores. Seahawks could really start to separate here. So offense, what do you got for us? 1 yard Jordan Love, 6 to Rachaad White, 3rd and 2, throw away. Well, we went from fighting to be that first spot in our division right now to down at 3rd as the Rams have also leveled up their record with us. So we're gonna love here with love. We're gonna roll here with Love, picking up that first down. It is needed. And with that, we're gonna jump in as well. Need a touchdown this drive. As we hand it off, White down the middle, gonna pick up the first down and stopped right after doing so. He's averaging about 4.5 yards per rush in this one. As we have a first down at the 42, they send the blitz. We throw behind it and through the hands of Brandon Ayuk. Seems like our receivers struggling to make plays despite the fact that they're all rated really well. I want to say our lowest rated is an 85 in terms of the starting group, as that one's picked off, intended for White. A great play by Gonzalez. Made from behind. It looked like that was going to be an easy catch for the first, but it is a turnover that we did not need. Not that turnovers are ever really needed. Luckily, Fred Warner comes picking up the sack for us. They get one with Lawrence, and we get the stop on 3rd and long. Offense, we need some big plays here, and losing 3 on a catch is not going to do it. 3rd and long, we just get the 3. So for some reason, the offense has done so well in every other game besides the ones we've tuned in to watch. Defense at least gets the stop there. They're doing better in this second half. Offense just needs something here. A spark would be great. As it's 2nd and 5, it's a throwaway. 3rd and 5, we pick up 6, Rachaad White. Relying heavily on him, it seems, gone his way often as Kincaid picks up 14. Thrown away by Love. 2nd and 10, another thrown away. 3rd and 10, throw away. 3 in a row. So once again on a 4th down, with about a minute left here in the 3rd quarter, we are going for it. Need the big play here. It's making a slight change to play Ayuk on the slant just to get out there a little bit quicker. Pass rush, though, hits home as we had Ayuk wide open. Seahawks defense just playing way too good right now. And we're having to rely on not giving up 57-yard touchdowns to Timmy Borden as they go up 24-0. Will we score any points in this game as we are getting through it quickly? Offense has gone nowhere all game today. We do finally get a big touchdown though, but a little bit too late as we are down 27-7. An interception does not help out and ends this game. We lose, swept by the Seahawks as they really stake claim top of our division. And we're going to need to turn this thing around because we have not been on a good stretch of games. Now, we would at least bounce back with a sweep of our own against the San Francisco 49ers, but that was a team that I want to say had 3 wins going into the game, and it took overtime for us to get the win. We had over 500 yards of offense, but they had 400. So, team is playing interesting ball right now. Greg Bryant, a rookie, 2 touchdowns, over 300 yards, 78% completion. Jordan Love, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, 76% completion. As for the running game, Kenneth Walker, 4 yards a rush. Rachaad White, just a little over 3. Zach Moss did actually run pretty well in this one, just shy of 5 yards a carry and a touchdown. As for the receiving game, Brandon Ayuk did have 2 touchdowns, 108, but we gave up 102 to Alexander. Feel like we did the same in that first game we played against him. But Jamar Chase also had about 100 yards and a touchdown, as well as Tank Dell. So, not great. Definitely the cornerback group was struggling, and I'll talk about that in a second. Puka Nacua did have a touchdown in this one. As for the defense, Jordan Brooks led both teams with 17 tackles. It was also Kenny Moore in second with 11. Fred Warner, for us, had 9. As for the rest of the defense, tackles for a loss, we had one by Fred Warner, Lloyd Spiller, and Diabate. Diabate also had a sack as well as Warner. But Matt Gay did end up missing a field goal on this one. If he didn't, we probably would not have gone to overtime. We also gave up 15 points in that fourth quarter, which sent it to overtime. Now, in the following week, we would lose another game to the Steelers, and that one was a big game for us due to divisional play. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they beat us 17-6 after we did not score a single point on offense, just 2 field goals. We gave up over 300 yards. Meanwhile, we struggled to get 229 ourselves. Joe Burrow, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 65% completion. And Jordan Love, 146 yards, 1 interception, 55%. And one weird thing about this game is we got a boost for our offensive lineman for not giving up any sacks, yet he supposedly was sacked once. So thank you, Madden, on that part. Nick Chubb, 4.4 yards a carry. Rashad White, 4 yards a carry, but it was only on 10 carries. Al Meredith, the backup rookie running back for the Steelers, did get a touchdown. Meanwhile, our backups didn't do much. And not much for the receiving game for either team. The leading receiver, Brandon Ayuk, just 49 yards on 5 grabs. 1 touchdown did go to Mike Gesicki. As for the defense, Fred Warner led both teams in tackles with 9. As for us individually, 4 tackles for a loss, 1 from Warner, Floyd, and Weeks. As for sacks, none. Interceptions, Jeremy Dennard did get 1, which is a pretty good transition point over to the secondary. In that last game versus the Seahawks, Jalen Johnson, our top corner, did get injured. He tore his labrum, has missed the last couple games, and will miss our next game, which is against the Rams. In the last game against the Steelers, Julian Blackmon also tore his bicep. So unless we make it to the playoffs and go far, his season is essentially done. Our back-to-back 2-time Pro Bowl safety is not going to be with us. So that obviously has shaken up this defense a little bit. Dennard is now the number 1 corner, as Taron Johnson still back, I guess, now to playing that cornerback 2 spot. And both of them have to play on the outside. So prior to the injury of Blackmon, we were playing Terrell Burgess as our slot corner. He did that in the first, I think, 2 seasons perhaps. But then Blackmon got injured. So now Burgess is going to be starting strong safety. He's still a good rated safety. It's not too far of a drop off from Blackmon, but we're out 2 of our starting DBs. And in the last couple games, we've seen us struggle to stop the passing game. Some pretty good completion percentages. So we need to turn that around right now, because as it stands, we are no longer in the playoff picture due to the Steelers' loss. Before that game, we were the 7th seed. But right now, the Rams, the team we're about to play in the next 2 of 3 games, they're at the 2nd seed. For some reason, the Seahawks are down at 6. Did I miss something? Did the Seahawks start to drop off and the Rams carry themselves forward? No. But the Rams did win a game and the Seahawks lost a game. Maybe they just played against each other. And both are 9-3. And clearly we saw in the playoff picture what difference that makes. 6th seed versus 2nd seed. So these next couple games against the Rams, once again, are huge. And on top of that, we play the Cowboys in between these 2 Rams games, who are the 7th seed. So the next 3 weeks are going to be extremely important. As we start the second quarter, we're up 14-0 here at home. Give up our first touchdown, give up a field goal, get another touchdown before half. Still sitting comfortable with a 2-score lead, though can't get too comfortable. We need wins. As the Rams somehow take the lead extremely quickly there. No idea what happened in that 2 minutes of gameplay, but they somehow nearly doubled their points. Luckily, we also scored. As we start the fourth quarter, it is 28-25. Things got crazy there. Defense needs you to come through. We're only up a field goal here. Rams are driving. 2nd and 6, they get a first down rush by Herbert. We are in a very tough division. In all of the seasons prior to last year, the only time we've made the playoffs, every other team in our division have made it to the playoffs. So we're in a tough one. We need to find these wins. We get a knockaway, and we hold on third. 4th and 2, they miss the field goal. Will Lutz, 44-yarder, keeps us on top. Can we move quickly? Okay, well, I was going to say move slowly, methodically, but 14 yards, sure, I'll take quickly. As we get 11 more to Ayuk's, 1st and 10, 6 to Rashad White, 2nd and 4. We're close to the red zone. Get us in there. That's not what we were looking for. A sack, 2nd and 19, that's not it. 27 yards, though, will do. This game seems to be a little bit all over the place, but if we could tack on a touchdown here, make it a 10-point game, under 3 minutes left, I'd feel a little bit more non-anxiety ridden. As we're letting this clock run, Harry with a decent block, but a big hit. 62 decleats White. He maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. Honestly, I have no idea where we started that last play on. Leaves 2nd and goal either way here at the 6. Once again, letting that clock roll. 2-minute warning hits. I like the time wastement. And I'm pretty sure I just came up with the word time wastement. I don't know if that's a thing, but it sounds good. 2nd and goal. Hand this one off White with some good blocks. We're down to the 2. And the first timeout for the Rams. Leaves us spread. Now, Love, I know what happened the last time we were down close to the end zone. Do not do it. 3rd and goal. Handed off White. Gets picked up, slammed down, and it's a field goal. I wanted to be able to jump in here, but Madden quickly sent the field goal unit out. It is a 6-point game. A touchdown could be the winner for the Rams. And considering how bad the Rams did this channel in the first traditional franchise for Madden 24, they better not do nothing here. As they go the halfback screen up top, gonna be a gain of about 9 yards. They only have 1 timeout remaining though, and they need the touchdown. Field goal does them no good. As Herbert dropping back, going down to the bottom, to the running back with some open space, picking up a good chunk and driving to the midfield line. That one going to Tony Pollard. Like I said, this division has some really good players. As it's a throw across the middle, nearly picked off by Fred Warner and nearly caught after the tip. We'll leave a 2nd and 10. As we're under a minute left, they're at the 49. Still yet to get into plus territory, but don't have to go very far. Herbert from the pocket, we send extra guys, and it's a wide open receiver, Chenault Jr. inside the red zone. Luckily, we have some timeouts ourselves, but we're not using them. Clock is inside 25 seconds. Herbert from the pocket dumps it off. Chenault once again to the about 10. They call their last timeout there. Tackles inbounds, not into the end zone. That's all we need, just no touchdowns. As Herbert steps up, throws out of the back. We have 13 seconds left. It's 3rd and 1. They come out under center. 2 receivers down to the bottom. Will be a throw. Herbert rolling and out of the back. 4th and gain. 9 seconds left. They essentially have to go for the end zone here. Tackled inbounds even with the first. This game's over, and it's across the middle, and Debo trips. That will be a huge win for us in Season 5. 2 games behind going into this game. Pulls us back to 1 behind the Rams. And we see him again. Let's jump to that one, and hopefully in between, we beat Dallas. Fortunately, though, it was not a win in Dallas, as we lost that one by 6. So we won by 6, we lost by 6. All the points being scored in this first half, or first quarter even, 14-14. So this game is a must win, as every game we win and lose, we get in and then drop out of the playoffs. So a win is very much needed, as at halftime we are up by 4. So let's get through the third quarter here. It's 21-20 now. And that's where we enter the fourth quarter. Though looked like one of the teams driving to the end zone. We get the touchdown to widen the lead. Dalton Kincaid, it's a 7-point game. Extra point would make it a 8-point. So that feels a little bit more comfortable. But don't want to get too comfortable, as we need a big fourth quarter here. If we could sweep 2 of the 3 division foes that we face, hopefully that would see us on into the playoffs. And we get the stop on 3rd and long. Offense heads out, and we really haven't seen a whole lot of gameplay, so let's jump in here. Up 8 points, 7.5 minutes or so left in this 4th quarter. I would honestly like to start rolling some clock here. Simple, methodical drive as we start with Kincaid picks up 8. Now, if we do get this win, and I'm not mistaken, that puts us at the same record as the Rams, and we would have swept them, putting us back up to 2nd in our division and back into the playoff race. And there is Kincaid. It's not slow and methodical. It's a big chunk play down to the 31. Luckily, I went ahead before we started this drive and put the team in the chew clock mode. As we're under 6 or about at 6 minutes left here. Play action. Love with a clean pocket. Will find his target, but in and out of the hands. I want to say that was Romeo Doubs. Should have been an easy catch. He's back again up to that number 2 receiver for us. He's just not quite making the plays as we go to Rachaad White. He'll pick up 4. He's having a pretty good game in this one. 12 carries, 121 yards. And we're going to need either him or someone else to make the play here on 3rd, though. Field goal would still make it a 2-score game. As we hand it off to White, a juke, and the extra effort at the end does get us that first down. Let this clock continue to melt down. And after this one, just a couple more games left to find out where our playoff hopes lie, as that could have easily been a pick 6 by Yarborough. Nearly flipping this game on its head. 2nd and 10, we stick with a throw. Up top, much easier that time, and held on to by Romeo Doubs. Love has thrown 1 interception in this one, and I would like to keep it to that. With 2 receivers down to the bottom, 2 tight ends to the top of the line. Motioning out White, make it an empty set here for Love. It's a 5 front, though looks like they might bring a safety blitz. They do. It's clean around the edge. Sack, fumble, scoop. Don't let it be a score. Someone get back there, and it does not look like it. We got lucky. Not throwing the pick 6 instead. It's scoop and score for the defensive lineman. Not even going to try to pronounce that name. I would butcher it. We need a defense to hold the 2-point here. Can level it up, 28-28. Jordan Love just loves the drama. As it's a bunch up top, 1 down to the bottom. Herbert throwing to the running back, who is diving. Okay, great play. Tony Pollard, if you're gonna level this game up, it's gotta be off of a great swing pass. The run after was perfection. Luckily, we have 3:46 on the clock and 3 timeouts. We need a field goal to win, and we're coming out here to run a drive with this offense. We hand this one off. It's Moss who picks up 5 and picks up an injury. He's gotten injured several times this season. Really unfortunate how his arc throughout this series went. Started that first year, I mean, so good. But since then, we really just have not seen much. As we throw this one out to Doubs, making sure we stay in bounds as we do land in bounds. Let that clock continue to roll. Trying to keep this game essentially out of Jordan Love's hands here. As we click under 3 minutes left, open space for Whitfield, and does pick up a nice gain, as we also have another injury, N'Keal Harry. Having several injuries on this drive, definitely not helping chew the clock. Leaves 2nd and 3. Rachaad White back out here. They send a blitz. Just try to get back as much yards as possible, leaving it 3rd and 3. And on a must convert down, we're going to go to one of our highest overall offensive players. It's Brandon Ayuk taking the jet sweep, getting smacked by Snead, leaves 4th and inches. But of course that would be for after the 2-minute warning. Needing to pick up another first. And we're going to go right down the middle. Fullback dive to Turner. Picks up about a yard, maybe a yard and a half, which will be enough. Just need the field goal, and Gay can hit from a distance. We got an RPO dialed up here, so let's see what the running back and linebackers all do. Well, they meet at about the same spot, gaining nothing. Linebackers sat and collapsed about as perfectly as they really needed to. 2nd and 10. Going back to White here. We got some lead blocks. It's Whitfield to help lead the way. We pick up 7. Now the good news is N'Keal Harry is back out there as we have 3rd and 3. We go with the slant pass to Ayuk instead of the handoff, picking up that first down, and timeout starting to be called by the Rams. They have 2 more remaining. We got some RPOs dialed up as well. Back out to Ayuk. Let him try to do his thing in open field and nearly got past the first defender as Damon Barrett shaken up. Inside the 2-minute warning, will use one of their timeouts. They have 1 remaining. Once again, we got the RPO dialed up. Keep giving Ayuk space. As he gets the juke, sprinting to the outside, he's also carried out of bounds. Needed to stay in there. We got 36 seconds. 1 timeout for them still remains. And with the 1st and goal, they finally learned their lesson. Press coverage on the outside. We'll hand this one off. Whitfield, who gets down 2 and then pushed back at the 1. Final timeout call. And if it's not broke, we're not gonna fix it. Keeping with the same look. Probably not going out with the RPOs. That's still pretty close, but Whitfield, open lane down the middle. Blake Freeman injured on the play, but we do take another lead here. Now with just 30 seconds and no timeouts, can Herbert find his team a touchdown? They need at least that to tie this one up. As he steps up to throw right down the middle of the field, there's open spaces. Debo inside the 40, inside the 30, dragged down just shy of the 20. But they will not have time to get back and snap off the next play. We get lucky once again. Both of these games have come down to the wire. And luckily, we've ended up on top of them, sweeping the Rams as well as the 49ers this year, though we got swept by the division lead Seahawks. And the fate of this series all comes down to these last 2 games. And it's not an easy one in the first one. Bengals, 9-6, same as us, and they have an 89 defense. In terms of the current playoff picture, we're in at 6. Rams still in at 7. The Bengals, they're 3rd over on the AFC. We also face the Lions next, and they are currently 4th in the NFC. So these last few games are really big. Now we've probably already hit about that hour marker here. We're at least going to sim through this Bengals game. And then we'll see what we have to do week 18. Probably will be a quarter sim just to see if it's not locked in. But it all comes down to this. In week 17 against the Bengals, do we get another win? Way more than that, a blowout win, 35-10 against the AFC's 3 seed. We hold them to 251 yards, 405 ourselves. Jordan Love, 306 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 76% completion. Meanwhile, their quarterback Cole Nelson, just 175 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, completing just 42% of his throws. Rachaad White, not a good game, only 2.6 yards a carry, did get a touchdown. Zach Moss was back in this one, so his injury was not big. And he had a touchdown as well. Receiving-wise, Brandon Ayuk, 143 yards on 11 catches and a touchdown. Puka Nacua, 78 on 5 and a touchdown. We did give up a touchdown to Demario Douglas. Dalton Kincaid for us had another touchdown. So offense came to play. Defensively, Oluokun for them, 13 tackles, led both teams. As for us, Taron Johnson and Adrian Sharp both had 6, were our leaders. As for tackles for a loss, Lloyd, Williams, Fotu, and Spiller each had 1. Sack-wise, Adrian Sharp 1.5, 1 for Weeks, and a half for Taron Johnson. The interception went to Marcus Williams. Kicking, 5 of 5 on extra points, not a field goal attempted. So where does that leave us in week 18? Well, we are still a 6 seed, and the Lions are a 4 seed. But we have a better record. It's just down to the fact I think the Lions are currently winning their division. So things are still up for a toss here. On the NFC side, we have not clinched. There are a fair few amount of teams who are 9-7 who, with a win and with us losing, could end up potentially taking the final 2 spots. So things definitely not secure here for us in the final week. So that means one more quarter sim. A win, we're in. A loss, some other games have to go our way. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever you do for good luck, we get one more win here in the regular season, then obviously win on out. And we're doing all quarter sims here today, as this episode has gone on quite a long way. As we end the first quarter, we are up 7-0, and I believe we are driving as well. Nope, just kidding, that was the other team, though. We still drove 14-3 as we hit halftime. Again, a win today, we are in. A loss, we need some help. As we've just given up 2 field goals, we tack on our 3rd touchdown, 4th quarter has arrived. We are up by multiple scores. We don't need anything fancy, just finish the game. Though, Lions looking to find their first touchdown as Bowman gets them inside the red zone. They'll have a bunch up top, one down to the bottom, I believe, is their tight end. From shotgun, Prescott stepping up, throwing, dumping off, picking up the first down to about the 10. And at the 10, tight set here. Single back set, Prescott hands it off with a lane straight through the cornerback in Taron Johnson. Javonte Williams scores. But surprisingly, they don't go for the onside, so we head back out on offense with a chance to milk the clock and seal this game with Jordan Love running for 8 yards on 3rd and 2. I'll take that for sure. 2 more go to Rachaad White. 5-yard pass to N'Keal Harry leaves 3rd and 2 once again, and Rachaad White picks it up. Time running out here for the Lions. Again, they were somehow still above us as we actually have a 4th and inches here, so pause that conversation, let's jump in. But as I was trying to say, the Lions were above us in the seeding. Even though they have a worse record, it really has just come down to the fact that they're the best of the NFC North teams. As we motion over Turner here to be a lead block, we don't get it, and a flag will definitely help out. Celebrating as the linebacker who just got called for a face mask. Micah McFadden chose the wrong time to hype up his play as he just cost his team a lot there. They had us stopped. Now we have a fresh set of downs. Cutting back to the outside is Whitfield, picking up about 6. And taking us inside the 2-minute warning where we go back to the RPO that helped us seal the last game. We'll keep going to it. Ayuk breaks 1 and doesn't really get anywhere else. Timeout starting to be called. Leaves a 3rd and 1. And we're going to go with a dive to the weak hand side here where we have a pretty good advantage following the blocks. Whitfield comes through. And we'll just keep doing that until Detroit is out of timeouts and out of time. As we do not get good blocks, and the ball actually pops free. Luckily, we're on it. We've seen too much of late game drama due to turnovers. Not sure who jumped on it, but whoever did, thank you, as we bring out Rachaad White instead. With a nice subtle juke there, a little bit more than subtle, we'll pick up some yards. No timeouts remain for the Lions. However, time will not run out before the end here, so let's try to pick up that first down. Get it out to Ayuk, who is not going to get that first down, but we can milk this clock for as long as possible. The Lions will still have some time, but should put them down too much. So with 23 seconds, we send out Gay to make this a 2-score game. Only up 8 currently, but that will widen to 11. And pretty much secure the win here as long as no shenanigans happen. In week 18, locking in our playoff spot. But again, that's just as long as no shenanigans happen. We got 18 seconds left and a penalty. I thought that was going to be a pick. Penalty will help him out. That'll give him an extra free 15. And it actually apparently was an interception or something on that play, or some form of a turnover as we kneel out the clock. So we pick up a win on our own terms. We are back to the playoffs. We were 1 and done last year in the divisional round, and it's going to be wild card weekend for us to pick up next time. But we will wrap up taking a look at the stats, and we were the 4th best offense this year in terms of total yards. As for defense, the 3rd best. So the fact that we aren't in that first round bye, or at least a 2 seed, really just goes to show how good some of these other teams ended up kind of playing and just the difficult division we are in. Jordan Love did not have as good of a year this year as he did last year, but he was still 4,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, did have 12 interceptions, and that was really the problem. I think the completion percentage may be a little bit lower than last year as well at a 69, but overall, despite some bad play at the end of some games late on there, he helped lead us back to the playoffs. As for the running game, I did not think that Rachaad White was as good this year as he was for us in the previous year, though he still averaged 4 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns, no fumbles. Jordan Love did have 2 fumbles. He did rush for a touchdown, averaged 4 yards per rush. As for the backup running backs, Kenny Whitfield, only basically 3 yards a rush, nothing fantastic, but he stayed healthy. 6 touchdowns for him, 1 fumble. Zach Moss was getting injured almost every single game. He still ended up with 4 yards per carry, just 37 carries, and 5 touchdowns. Nakua had a rushing touchdown. Cole Turner at fullback had 3 rushing touchdowns. As for the receiving game, Brandon Ayuk, 1,334 yards, 12 touchdowns. Nakua, 40 yards short of 1,000 at 960. He did have 10 touchdowns, so 2 top guys there. Dobbs took a little bit of a step back this year, though a lot of yards, 813. Only 3 touchdowns, though, on 64 grabs. Dalton Kincaid, fine year, but expect more from a near 70 overall tight end. Rachaad White didn't get as involved in the passing game or really much of any of the other guys down the line, though. Cole Turner did catch 1 more for a touchdown, so he had, 4 total? Not bad for a depth player outside of a couple formations, really just 1 formation that actually uses a fullback. As for blocking, Austin Corbett gave up the most amount of sacks at 9, not bad for a first-year left tackle. Blake Freeland, 5, as well as Gavin Richter, 3 for Brady Christensen, and Braden Daniels in his limited time playing did give up 1. Braxton Jones, 1, and he started the whole year. As for the defense, 2 100-plus yard tacklers, Fred Warner with 111, and Devin Lloyd, 106. Tackles for a loss leader is Damian Weeks with 11. Leaky Fotu had 10, and Weeks kind of played a hybrid role. We really moved him around a little bit this year. He was depth for some interior, starter on the outside, just wherever we needed these guys to play, they played. Adrian Sharp had 9, 8 for Malik Spiller, 7 for Diabate, who did finally have a improved season. 6 for Jeremy Dennard, 5 for Warner and Lloyd, 3 for Blackman. Unfortunately, he was injured. Marcus Williams, Jalen Johnson, Terrell Burgess, George Burns, and Heath Dennard all had 1. As for sack leader, it is Malik Spiller, 7.5. We still don't really have that dominant edge rusher or just pass rusher in general, but we had more guys getting involved. Adrian Sharp, Mohamed Diabate, and Fred Warner each had 4. As for Damian Weeks, 3.5. Not awful for him. Devin Lloyd, 2. Leaky Fotu, 1.5. 1 for George Burns and Taron Johnson, and split between Terrell Burgess, Heath Dennard, and Clark Phillips III. Interception leader is Jeremy Dennard with 2, also tied with Marcus Williams, who had 2. Not a whole lot of interceptions. Burgess, Blackman, and Evans combined for 3 more, so really not a whole lot of turnovers forced. Forced fumbles, only 2, of which we did recover 2, and it was all Jalen Johnson's doing, so we really need him out there. Kicking game, Matt Gay, 11 of 14, 52 of 52 on extra points. If you like punting stats, we averaged essentially 50 yards a punt, 6 inside the 20, 14 were touchbacks. All in all, I think this was a really solid season. It took some clutch gameplay late on, especially in the division games, to sweep. If we didn't sweep those guys, I don't think we make it. In the end, we end up being the 6th seed, still set to play against the Dallas Cowboys, who we lost to not too long ago. Could have potentially propelled us further up the board and not have taken it to week 18. So that will be where we pick up next time. If you're new to this series, essentially every time we make it to the playoff, series changes. Obviously, we went through a full offseason and regular season in this one. Playoffs, it's just 1 game per episode. Typically, those episodes out every Wednesday and Saturday. But if we win and you guys get that video 50 likes, the next round is the very next day. So you guys could have videos out on Saturday, on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, however long it takes to either, to end this series, as this is season 5. It's Super Bowl or bust as the playoffs begin on Saturday. So do not miss, hit that bell icon on the bottom right or scroll down, hit the subscription button, and definitely tip that bell icon so you're notified of when these videos go live so you guys could smash that like button, propel the team to a win, and we'll be back the very next day. Even if we have double uploads with the traditional series, which we started a new one, the Panthers, on Monday. So you could have a Panthers video and a Southwest States Only Challenge video on Monday and Tuesday, as long as we make it and you guys get the video 50 likes. So a whole lot on the line. Hope you guys stick around, and we will see you in the playoffs. Bye.